What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video. And today we're going to step away from the Camaro for a little bit and talk about the Denali here. And specifically, we are going to be installing a front level system to make sure this truck has a little nicer stance than before. Here we've got my 2011 all-wheel drive Sierra Denali. It's got the 6.2 liter V8 and really awesome truck. Definitely worth the look if you're looking into a truck. Lots of power, all the nice creature comforts, and it's a lot more affordable than some of the newer trucks are. But as you guys can see, if you look at the front of this truck and look at the back of this truck, the front is actually raked in, and that's just how all of them come from the factory. But today we're going to be lifting up the front 2 1/4 inches, which is exactly the difference between the two here. And we are going to be doing it with the Pro Comp 2 1/4 inch kit. And we'll go into details with it right now about all that's in it. But let's first talk about why you need to be careful on which level kits you choose for your all-wheel drive setup Denali. So if you go on the forums, go online and search, you will see that a lot of people have issues when they try to level their all-wheel drive version of this Sierra Denali, and that is because the all-wheel drive system is not like the 4x4 system where you can disengage and engage it. It is on all the time, all-wheel drive, and therefore the angles that your front half shafts on the differential are very critical. And many people were installing typical level systems, which include just spacers on either the bottom of the strut or on the top of the strut, and that was changing the angle dramatically from the half shaft to the hub and causing vibrations when accelerating or driving over 80 or 70 or 80 miles an hour. And that is something we do definitely not want. But Pro Comp is a little bit different because Pro Comp's setup uses a spacer not only in the bottom, but a spacer in the top as well. So that is one of the biggest difference from the Pro Comp setup compared to many others which either use a spacer on the top or at the bottom. The Pro Comp kit actually takes advantage of both, so when you put a spacer on the top and on the bottom, it reduces the angle that you end up with, and therefore making it drive and pretty much be like OEM. So that is why we went with the Pro Comp, and this I got on 4wheelparts.com, and they were $115 for this, so it's really not that expensive. And again, like I said, it comes with nice machined billet aluminum pieces for the top, the bottom, all new nuts for the top, and of course your instructions and some stickers. So we're going to go through and show you guys exactly how to install it. It's very simple. We'll walk you guys through one side and it's going to be the mirror image on the other, and then show you guys the finished product. Now before we even get to lifting the truck up, doing any of that, one thing I'm going to do is turn on my headlights and mark exactly where they are pointing at, because once we lift it up from the front, guys, the headlights are going to be aimed a little bit higher, so we're going to go back and adjust the headlights and aim them back down to the same level they were at before, to ensure that we're not blinding people or having any issues with oncoming traffic. So let's do that first, and then we'll lift the truck up and start working in the wheel side. We've got it marked down, and you notice one side is a little bit lower than the other, and that's just because of my driveway here. It's kind of sloped out downwards. But let's get to removing the wheel and showing you guys exactly the procedure to remove the strut. Jack the car up, we remove the wheel. Now here are the spacers, and this spacer is going to go down here under the strut. So as you guys can see there, this is going to be sitting under there, so that goes under there, and this spacer is actually going to sit inside here under the top of the strut. So we're going to have to remove 3 nuts here and then those 2. But before we can do any of that, guys, what you need to do is remove this end link, sway bar end link here, Once you remove that, that'll give this a little more flex up and down. And then we want to go ahead and disconnect these little brake lines here, because we're also going to be unbolting the upper control arm, and then that will let us completely move this down out of the way to pull the strut out and do what we got to do. So we'll remove the sway bar arm first. We will loosen up these two bolts, and then we will remove these clips. And when we get to the upper control arm, we're going to loosen up the nut but not remove it completely, and then you just start tapping it on the side, on the hub here, with a hammer to loosen and pop the top control arm out. So we've removed the sway bar end link, and this is just 2 15 millimeters. So I've got my 15 millimeter impact, and I've used a 15 millimeter wrench on the top side. Not a big deal there. Then we did loosen up this wheel speed sensor, 10 millimeter nut here to get this completely loose. Now we are loosening up the upper control arm, and for that you use an 18 millimeter wrench, and it's actually pretty easy. And you're going to loosen this up all the way to the edge, but you do not want to remove this nut because you still want to have a little bit of support here. So we're going to loosen this up, then we're going to tap it on the edge until this kind of pops off. We loosened up these two bottom bolts, and all it is just 15 millimeter bolts. I was able to use the same 15 millimeter from the sway bar and link. And as you guys can see here, I kept the nut on the upper control arm joint, and with a bunch of hammer tapping, it finally broke loose, and now this is kind of got a lot more space here. So you see, you can kind of move this around. Now we have to remove these top 3 bolts, and so there's a few little clips on the top that you want to remove on the front on these two. Remove that, and then you can start loosening them up, all 3. And once you loosen up all 3, this whole strut assembly can then now be moved out of the way. Finally got the strut out, and I used just this wrench here, 18 millimeters, and unfortunately it's not a ratcheting one. If not, it'd be a lot easier to remove these 3 nuts from the top. But this is what you get, guys, and really there's only one way this goes in, and this had the tag to the back, so I kind of want to line it up the same way that it came out. So it was kind of like this, and the way that I pulled it out was right through this top side here. So I pulled it up, so I pulled it down and then up, and there you have it. That basically is how you get it out. Now we're going to install the upper spacer mount, which only, like I said, this isn't an even out. This is not an even spacing. It's got its own orientation. So if it doesn't go in one direction, then you got to rotate it until it goes in to all of them. So that's not the right one. So this should be the right one there. So that's super easy. So that goes on the top, and then we can go ahead and move it back up into the housing. And we do have supplied new nuts for this top part, which we're going to be using. And once we secure the top, we don't want to tighten it up all the way. We're kind of going to leave it a little bit loose, and then we can work on the bottom and work our way back by going ahead and installing the top, installing the bottom, and then tightening up back our upper control arm joint and our sway bar link. And it is back in, guys. So we've got the spacer down there, nuts are tightened, we've got the spacer in the bottom. You do have to make sure that it is facing back, not the front, because obviously it would hit here, and you have this lip here, but you want it facing to the back. And one thing is, because we didn't completely remove the nut on the upper ball joint, we had to end up using a pry bar. I use this as a pry bar, and I would just kind of pull down like this, and that kind of gave me the space and clearance to slide this in and put in the 15 millimeter bolts under it. It probably would have been easier if I just removed the nut completely, but I didn't, and I probably will be removing it completely. All you need is another jack down here to make sure this doesn't just completely fall to the floor. But This side is complete. We're just gonna tighten back up our nut here on the upper control arm, plug our ABS speed sensor back in line, and install our sway bar end link, and then we can move on to the other side. It is done, guys, and man, I gotta say, that is the perfect lift on this truck. That looks awesome. Check it out. I'm gonna do some measurements afterwards, but it looks pretty spot on, even the gap in the front and in the back. And right now we'll go ahead and actually look down here under the truck, and you can see the axle is actually pretty damn straight. It's got a little bit of an angle, but it is actually pretty straight. So I'm actually thinking this is really gonna work and not have that steep angle that causes vibration. So it was quite a bit of work. Like I said, it's about, this side took me an hour just because I didn't have the right tools. Again, if you had a ratcheting wrench that's big enough, you could knock this out pretty quickly, but everything is pretty good. One thing you do have to do is make an alignment afterwards. So let me go ahead and finish the other side, and then we can see kind of the all around. We'll have to move it back and forth so it can settle in, and show you guys the finished product, and also show you guys how to adjust the headlights. Side is done as well, and man, that looks so much better than that rake stance. Now I do got to move it back and forth a little bit to let the suspension settle, so I'm going to drive it back and forth, and then we're going to fix the headlights. Remember, we still got the tapes there, and I've marked off where the front tire should be to make sure that we get as best of an even level as possible. So let me go ahead and just drive it back and forth. We'll bring it back and show you how it looks settled in, and then adjust the headlights. Alright guys, so we're ready to adjust the headlights, and that is very easy. As you guys can see, there's this adjuster here that uses a either hex or a Phillips screw, and you put it in, and then clockwise brings it down, as you guys can see, and then counterclockwise will bring it up. So I'm just gonna keep spinning these until I get down to right around where I was at right there. So that's when I was kind of right at the bottom, and we're gonna do the same on the other side. And there we have it, guys. We've got both of the headlights now aimed at the right same distance where they were at before we did the lift, and man, this just gives it so much more presence, guys. Now, one good thing about lifting it from the front is you can actually go ahead and put 33-inch tires if you're trying to do off-roading. I'm not gonna be doing any of that. I really just wanna have that nice kind of even look across the board. I love these Michelins, they do really well, and I'm not gonna be going off-roading anytime, but let me know what you guys think about this lift. Now, it might look a little bit lifted from the front, but that's because my floor is completely not level. But I mean, it is spot on with the lift of the spacers from the front and the back. I'm sure once this all settles in, it's gonna be even better, but God, it looks really good. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, and I can't wait to do a few more things to this truck. We've got a lot of stuff planned for it. This was just kind of the beginning of it, and I love the way everything came out. Now, we've got the level kit. I do want to get the automatic retractable steps and do a few things like the HD hood that has the vent in the front. I think that would look really cool, along with doing a lot of other power mods such as Tune, E85, and all that good stuff. So stick around, subscribe if you haven't, because I'm going to be doing a bunch of stuff with the truck, as well as obviously still showing you guys the Camaro, which has been doing amazing. If you haven't checked out those videos, you can go to my channel and see how good that car is running. But anyways, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it was informative, and if you guys have an all-wheel drive version of this, this is the kit that I definitely recommend for leveling your truck. It's very inexpensive, and it will make sure that you don't have any vibration issues. Now the only thing left for me to do is go ahead and get the alignment to make sure that I don't wear out my tires unevenly. So we'll get that done, and it'll be good to go, guys. So with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one.